I don't know about you, but I don't have an extra $1,300 laying around for a pair of sparkly tights. So I made my own pair of Dolce and Gabbana inspired tights, and then I murdered them with chub rub. Let me tell you all about it. I'm Madi with Madi Sews, and thanks for hanging with me, you all. So if you're new here, I'm happy that you found me. Over here, I like to share with you tutorials, pattern reviews, the good, the bad, the ugly. I also like to share pattern and fabric hauls, as well as tips and tricks. So if this sounds like it's something that you would like, I'm happy that you're here. So let me tell you all about my Dolce and Gabbana inspired tights that I made. So first, let me just actually show you the tights right over here. So these gold sparkly tights absolutely caught my eye. I love these. I like how it's gold sequins, and this is actually a foil sequins on jersey. The jersey and the back is a black, so it kind of helps make that gold pop out. I also like how it's worn with like this kind of like oversized looking top. I wouldn't pair it with that top, but I do like the shape, the overall shape, and just the comfort factor that this whole vibe is giving me. The standout detail on these pants for me is that they're actually quite long, and you can see that they're like kind of scrunched up at the bottom by the actual ankles. And I just knew that that wouldn't be hard to replicate at all. And then when you look at the back, you can see that there's actually a gold waistband right across the back, like on the high booty area. It looks like there was an adjustment made, kind of similar to a sway back adjustment that helps provide a little bit more shaping in that area, which I actually think is a really nice touch. Look at the fabric I found! It's the gold with the black backing. You are. Oh my gosh. It was love. So I found this at Spandex World for $18 a yard, and I bought 3 yards because I wasn't sure at the time which pattern I was going to use. So I ended up only using about 1.5 yards of this fabric. Now, let me tell you, I would not make anything to wear with this fabric ever again. And it's because of this. Do you see that? That's missing foiled sequins because my legs were rubbing together as I walked. You all, this is unacceptable. And it's not my thighs problem. This is a problem with the actual fabric. And for this to actually happen, and it wasn't really cheap fabric. I mean, I paid $18 a yard for this. That's really disappointing. I mean, you all, let me put a picture in right over here because that kind of zooms in on the like little gold foiled sequins and how it was just kind of peeling off of the fabric. And you know, I felt that when I was walking. I felt the friction that my legs were creating with this fabric. It was not a pleasant feeling at all. Also, this fabric is quite itchy. And you know, I mean, I think that kind of goes along with any kind of sequins fabric. If you're wearing it up against your body, you really kind of want to line it because it is pretty itchy. I wore a pair of black athletic tights underneath it, and the only thing I felt was a friction from my chub rub. And you all, I use that term very affectionately. There is nothing wrong with my legs. There's nothing wrong with anybody whose legs touch and rub while you walk. I mean, I think that's the majority of people. So I really do think that it's just like, this is a fabric issue. Don't wear this fabric. Little reminder here, if you're having fun hanging with me, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you think about these pants. Whenever you engage with my videos, it really does help push it out in the algorithm world, internet things on YouTube. So thank you so much for your support. You may have noticed that I actually have a black waistband on my pants. Now, the reason why I have this black waistband is because I had a bit of an oops moment. Now, when I decided to make these pants, I actually opted for this pattern, which is McCall 6173. I made this version right here, and it's really hard to see the actual length on this, but let me show you the back view. So you can see there's all that extra kind of length right there, all bunched up, and then it looks like there's a seam up the front and the back on both views, and an elastic waistband. Now this is a big 4 pattern, and so we all know that their sizing is not inclusive. The waist on this pattern runs from a 22 to 37, and then the hips run from a 31.5 to 46 inches. Now my hips right now are at 50 inches because I've been eating really good. So I know that I needed to add some width to these pants. However, the big 4 tend to put a whole lot of ease into their patterns. So what I decided to do was actually go in and measure the actual pattern pieces to determine how much extra width I needed to add. So I did that. And when you couple that with my bad math, I decided that I needed to add 2 inches to the pattern piece. Now there's only one pattern piece for this. So let me just show you. Here is the only pattern piece that they have. And so you can see it actually has the front and back curves on the actual pattern. And then this seam right here is the inner thigh. So I was actually really pleased to see that, hey, I only had one piece to deal with, but then at the same token, my hips are much wider than my waist, so I didn't need the additional width in my waist. But how do you remove it from a pattern that's like this? You can't adjust the actual sides because, well, that's the butt curve and the crotch curve. So I don't want to remove any fabric from there. The only thing that I could possibly think was that I could have added in some darts. Ultimately, I decided not to do any adjustments because it was going to have an elastic waistband, and so that would kind of bring it in. I actually have a lot of feelings about that. When I did attach my waistband to the actual pants piece, well, my waistband was actually smaller, and it ended up creating like a bunch of kind of weird bunching in the hip area because it was just still too big, which is fine because I was planning on wearing an oversized shirt with it, but still, I mean, if I had decided to wear a tank top or something over this thing, it would have been a real struggle. You may have noticed that there is a black waistband on my actual pants. Well, that's because I actually had a bit of an oops moment. Oh gosh. So when I was actually cutting out my pattern on the fabric, I cut the one piece out, and then when I went to reposition it on another piece of fabric, I told myself, don't forget to flip it around, so that way I would get mirror images that I can put together. So I flipped it and then I cut it, not realizing that I had already flipped it. Which means that I had 2 identical legs. Not the best of situations because that back booty curve is much deeper and longer than the front crotch curve. So I ended up having to cut it even, and that meant that my pants in the back were a little short. So I couldn't put a regular waistband on them because anytime I'd bend over, it was going to be someone was going to get a show. So I decided that I was going to make up the actual length distance that I needed to cover with a wide waistband. And so I made this one, which is about roughly 6 inches wide. It's actually, I believe, 5.5 inches tall. I basically just cut a 12-inch piece, height-wise, and then I cut it to the width of my waist, which is 34. And by doing that, I was able just to fold it in half and add a little yoga waistband. Now this fabric is just a black scuba that I had in my stash for a while that had some pretty decent stretch to it. And honestly, I felt like this waistband was such a good call in terms of just comfort. I didn't have any issues with these pants slipping down. It was a good call. If I were to make these pants again, I would definitely add in darts. I didn't add the darts into this one again because, well, I didn't want to deal with the anything happening with this fake sequins. It's, you know, it's kind of glued on there. I didn't know how it would look if it was caught up in a seam. And I actually liked the fact that there is no side leg seam, so it's really just kind of a nice, uninterrupted pair of pants. This pattern actually does come with a view. It's view A that does have the actual darts. There's 2 darts in the front and then 2 darts in the back, and it has a mock fly. I probably wouldn't do that, but I mean, it does have the option for the actual darts, which I would definitely use next time. You can't win them all. And honestly, I felt great while wearing these. I mean, I walked out there looking like Elvis Presley or like the biggest disco ball walking in that entire place. And I felt great about it until I got home and noticed the chub rub and the missing sequins. And then I didn't feel so great about it. But quite honestly, I still wouldn't pay $1,300 for the original pair of pants that I had seen. I mean, at roughly $30 to make this thing, I would make it again if I wanted to wear gold sequins pants again. You know, like, I would make 5 versions of this before I'd buy, I wouldn't buy a pair of $1,300 pants. I would, clothing inspired anything really, I wouldn't. Now I have a whole bunch of this fabric left over, and I've already told you all that I actually don't recommend that you wear this stuff. I mean, if you make a top out of it, your arms are going to end up rubbing sequins off. You already know what happens with the chub rub. I mean, I guess you could put it around a collar. Sure. I actually think I'm going to try to turn this into like little gift bags for Christmas. And, you know, just put everyone's stuff in it that I'm going to be gifting them. And I think that'll be a really good use of this and get it out of my stash. And then I won't have to worry about it again. So these are my sparkly Elvis Presley disco ball pants that I will not be wearing again. If you enjoyed this video and this bit of a fail, I mean, I would consider this a fail. Check out this video right over here because it walks you through my first attempt at a new pattern. And, well, I don't really consider that one a success. However, I do think that I'll be able to get it to a place that I love soon. So check out that video, and until next time, I sincerely hope that you find joy and have a wonderful day.